My husband was perfect, but I fell for a taller, hotter guy. When I met Ryan, it was like all my dreams had come true. He was kind, funny, and incredibly attentive. We got married after 3 years of dating, and our life together felt like a fairy tale. Ryan was perfect in every way, or so I thought. A year into our marriage, my company hired a new project manager named Jake. From the moment Jake walked into the office, he exuded an aura of confidence and charm. Standing at 6'4", with chiseled features and piercing blue eyes, he instantly became the talk of the office. I tried to ignore the flutter in my stomach whenever he was around, but it was impossible. Jake was magnetic. As we worked closely on several projects, Jake and I started to spend more time together. We often found ourselves staying late to meet deadlines, sharing coffee breaks, and even grabbing lunch together. Our conversations flowed effortlessly, and I found myself laughing at his jokes and hanging on to his every word. It was a stark contrast to the routine comfort I shared with Ryan. One evening, after a particularly grueling day at work, Jake suggested we grab a drink to unwind. I hesitated, but eventually agreed. One drink turned into several, and before I knew it, we were sharing stories and secrets, our faces just inches apart. The attraction between us was undeniable, and as the night wore on, I found myself drawn to him like a moth to a flame. When Jake leaned in and kissed me, I didn't pull away. My mind raced with thoughts of Ryan, of the life we had built together, but my heart was beating for Jake. The kiss was electric, and in that moment I felt more alive than I had in years. Guilt consumed me the next morning. I loved Ryan, I truly did. He was my best friend and the person who had always been there for me. But the passion I felt with Jake was something I couldn't ignore. It was a wake-up call that maybe, just maybe, my perfect life with Ryan wasn't as perfect as I thought. I started to pull away from Ryan, making excuses to stay late at work or to go out with friends. The distance between us grew, and Ryan noticed. One evening, he confronted me, his eyes filled with pain and confusion. He asked if there was someone else, and I couldn't lie. I confessed everything, the guilt tearing me apart. Ryan was devastated. He couldn't understand how I could betray him, how I could throw away everything we had for a fleeting attraction. In that moment, I realized the enormity of what I had done. I had shattered the trust of the one person who had always been there for me. Jake and I continued our affair for a few months, but the guilt and the reality of what I had done never left me. The excitement and passion that had once burned so brightly began to fade, replaced by a hollow emptiness. I had lost Ryan, and in the end, I lost Jake too. Our relationship couldn't withstand the weight of my betrayal. Looking back, I realized that Ryan truly was perfect for me. I had let myself be swept away by a momentary thrill, only to end up alone and filled with regret. Sometimes, we don't realize what we have until it's gone. My husband was perfect, but in my pursuit of something more, I lost the one person who had loved me unconditionally. If I could turn back time, I would hold on to Ryan and never let go. He was my rock, my best friend, and the love of my life. Now all I have are memories and the painful knowledge that I let the best thing in my life slip through my fingers. Ryan and I met in college. We were both studying literature and often found ourselves in the same classes. He was always the one who spoke up during lectures, his insights sharp and thought-provoking. I admired him from afar, never daring to approach him. It wasn't until a group project in our final year that we were paired together. We spent countless hours in the library, our heads bent over books and notes. As we worked, we talked about everything, our dreams, our fears, our favorite books. I was struck by how kind and thoughtful he was. One evening, as we were packing up to leave, he asked me out for coffee. From that moment, we were inseparable. Ryan was everything I had ever wanted in a partner. He was patient, understanding, and endlessly supportive. After graduation, we both found jobs in the same city and moved in together. Our life was perfect. We would spend our weekends exploring new coffee shops, going on long walks, and curling up on the couch with a good book. Ryan's thoughtfulness never ceased to amaze me. He would surprise me with little gifts. a book he thought I'd like, a bouquet of my favorite flowers, or a handwritten note tucked into my lunch. When he proposed, it was the easiest decision I had ever made. We had a small, intimate wedding with just our closest friends and family. As we exchanged vows, I felt like the luckiest person in the world. Ryan was my best friend, my confidant, and the love of my life. The first year of our marriage was blissful. We fell into a comfortable routine, our days filled with love and laughter. But as time went on, the routine started to feel monotonous. The excitement and passion that had once been the cornerstone of our relationship began to wane. We still loved each other deeply, but something was missing. When Jake joined the company, he brought with him a sense of excitement and adventure that I had been craving. He was confident, charismatic, and had a way of making me feel alive. Our connection was instant and intense. I found myself looking forward to work in a way I hadn't in years. At first, I tried to keep my feelings in check. I reminded myself of how much I loved Ryan, of the life we had built together, but the more time I spent with Jake, the harder it became to ignore the chemistry between us. He made me feel seen and desired in a way I hadn't felt in a long time. The night we kissed, I felt a rush of emotions, excitement, guilt, and a deep sense of longing. I knew it was wrong, but I couldn't help myself. The kiss was a wake-up call, a reminder that I was missing something fundamental in my life. In the days that followed, I found myself replaying that moment over and over in my mind. I was torn between my love for Ryan and my desire for Jake. I started to pull away from Ryan, unable to face the guilt and confusion I was feeling. I made excuses to stay late at work, to spend more time with Jake. The distance between Ryan and me grew, and I could see the hurt in his eyes. He tried to reach out, to understand what was happening, but I couldn't bring myself to tell him the truth. When he finally confronted me, I felt a wave of relief and dread. I couldn't keep lying to him, but I knew that telling him the truth would destroy him. As I confessed everything, I saw the pain and betrayal in his eyes. It was like a knife to my heart. Ryan was devastated, and I knew that I had shattered the trust we had built over the years. In the months that followed, I tried to make things work with Jake, but the guilt and the reality of what I had done hung over our relationship like a dark cloud. The excitement and passion that had once drawn us together began to fade. I realized that what we had was built on a foundation of betrayal and deceit. Jake and I eventually ended things, and I was left to pick up the pieces of my life. I had lost the love of my life and the person who had always been there for me. Ryan moved out, and our divorce was finalized a few months later. It was one of the hardest things I had ever been through. Looking back, I realized that I had taken Ryan for granted. He was perfect for me in every way, and I had let myself be blinded by a momentary thrill. I had thrown away a lifetime of happiness for a fleeting attraction. I was left with nothing but regret and the knowledge that I had let the best thing in my life slip through my fingers. If I could turn back time, I would do things differently. I would cherish every moment with Ryan, hold him close, and never let go. He was my rock, my best friend, and the love of my life. Now, all I have are memories and the painful knowledge that I had lost the one person who had loved me unconditionally. Ryan and I still keep in touch, but it's not the same. We are both trying to move on with our lives, but the scars of our past remain. I have learned a hard lesson about love and fidelity, and I will carry that lesson with me for the rest of my life. In the end, I know that I have no one to blame but myself. My husband was perfect, but I let myself be swayed by a taller, hotter guy, and in doing so, I lost everything that truly mattered.